I broken up on a Monday. 2 Mondays later, I was moving out. I had a new job. I was getting into this beautiful house. I watched every hurdle, every restriction, every limitation that was in my way disappear. I ended up having a massive quantum leap by utilizing Gene Keys. This chart shows you what main scarcity and shadow patterns that you're here to heal and what gifts come from that experience. Self-trust doesn't come from certainty and security in a certain outcome. Self-trust comes from me feeling the capacity that I have to handle both the challenges and the gifts with grace. Shadow work is the healing of lower vibrations. Understanding that when we feel challenged by life, that's just you being met with a scarcity edge. And it's a beautiful opportunity when we learn how to meet it with grace. We get to be the ones to alchemize that into the gift again and again and again.
Welcome back to the Home to Self podcast, everyone. I am so excited to have you here and so excited to have a special guest, Summer Phoenix. Summer, thank you so much for being on. We have kind of been dancing in each other's fields for a little while now, and it's just exciting to have you on and to bring your wisdom to the listeners in terms of everything Gene Keys and business coaching. I feel that you just have a really beautiful way of really prioritizing the inner work when it comes to entrepreneurship and soul-led business. And that to me is like, speaks volumes. And so I'm really excited to dive into it. I know there's gonna be so many parallels between everything that I talk about on the show and everything that you're passionate about. And so I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us about the work that you do with women.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love how, community has a way of bringing you together with people who are meant to like nourish you and expand you, and we just enrich each other's lives. And I think it's such a gift and I cherish it so deeply. So thank you for having me on here, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Summer. I have been doing this Gene Keys and business work for about 3 years now. But I started my entrepreneur journey with astrology readings. I used to give astrology readings for like $60 a reading. And then I coached for like $30 an hour, and got really into subconscious mind rewiring, which I know you and I totally jive about that. Stuck with the astrology. And about 3 years ago, I discovered Gene Keys. Ended up having a massive quantum leap in my own life by utilizing Gene Keys. And I was like, okay, there's something here that I meant to share. It was a tool that brought me tangible shifts. There's something here. Like, let me just go with it. So I started experimenting, got some beta clients. My mom was actually my first client. And after about 1.5 years of like just experimenting, I started to realize, oh my gosh, all of these people, mostly women, are coming to me to learn about their chart because they want to apply it to either their own business or some sort of creative pursuit. I was like, oh, of course, that's what's happening because my quantum leap happened with my finances and my career. It makes sense as to why I would be naturally attracting other people who are looking for that same shift in their lives. So that's a really long story short of how I got into what I'm doing, a little bit about me.
Yeah, I love that. For those who have not heard about the Gene Keys, which I would imagine most people here have, but for those who haven't, can you just give us a brief explanation of what the Gene Keys are?
Totally. So if you haven't heard of Gene Keys, but you know of human design, it's very similar to that. Gene Keys itself is a mixture of astrology, human design. What is the coins? What's the coins that you throw? Why am I drawing a blank? They're both human design. This is really good for, even the foundation of human design is based in I Ching. I
Oh,
Ching.
the I Ching.
It's the
Yes.
I
Okay.
Ching. Okay, so even human design, you guys, is based in I Ching. That's where we get the 64 gates and where we get the 64 gene keys. So I find that to be super important to know. But back to what I'm talking about with gene keys, I Ching, astrology, human design, and epigenetics. Love. Like, couldn't ask for anything more inside of a modality. And it what you do is you put in your information. You have a particular chart that's based on the time you were born, and this chart shows you what main scarcity and shadow patterns that you're here to heal and what gifts come from that experience. So it's a very energetic modality. It touches on different parts of your life and essentially taps you into this ever evolving like wisdom. There's just like this ecosystem of energy patterns that live and are encoded within you. And the idea is, let me create this environment for my vibration to be able to raise and get out of those fear and scarcity patterns so that more of my gifts can come alive and more of my gifts get to live through me, but also the things that you'll end up attracting to you shift because your energy has shifted as well.
Yeah, Gene Keys is one of my favorites. I mean, I love human design too, but I just feel like Gene Keys is it really encompasses the more like soul mission that we are here to step into. And that's why, and I mean, I feel like you could just spend your whole life studying the Gene Keys and still not master it. Like it's just such an evolution and there's so much depth in there. To me, it's like something that I come back to in certain seasons of life. And just every time I do, I learn a little bit more. And so, in a little bit, I'm definitely going to ask you some questions so that we can talk about how the Gene Keys plays into business and how it can be such a powerful tool to help us really step into what we're here to do and what we want to do. But before we get there, I love asking people about their story. And I know that you have had a powerful one as well. I don't know all the details, but I would love for you to share a little bit about your pain to purpose story, if you will, or just what it is that catalyzed you to even be where you are today, to go on this journey.
Yeah, amazing. I'll start with the turning point of gene keys because I have a lot of those like burned down to the ashes and rise stories. Got encoded with my name, I think, a little bit. Thanks, mom and dad. But the one with Gene Keys particularly was it's large and in charge of my life. And I had just moved to a new city. I moved to Austin, Texas with a partner. And I knew I was at this fork in the road point in my life. What I had been doing wasn't really working for work and just overall lifestyle, was having bad luck. Something needs to change. I just don't know what's going to change yet. I happened to fall in love with this man who was ready to provide. He's like, I'll take care of the rent, I'll take care of food. Like, you focus on the shift that you're going through, and like, it's just temporary that, you'll be dependent on me for stuff. And so I had lived here in Austin for about 3 months and picking up little side jobs here and there to make money. And at the time, I was making probably like truly, you guys, like $400 to $700 a month. It was all I really needed, and I didn't want to just work to work. All these details, whatever. That's where I was at, and I come home one day from one of my side gigs and I see my partner. He's in the kitchen, and I can tell immediately something's off. I'm a Cancer. He's a Pisces. Like, our energies would just speak so clear. Like, you can't ignore the vibes. And I walked into the kitchen. He was literally bent over in the fridge. And I, without like saying hi or anything, I just said, "What's going on?" He shut the fridge. He turned around. He looked at me. He said, "We need to break up." Okay. Tower moment. I have the spiritual wisdom and understanding. Like, this shit doesn't just like, this isn't like a victim, woe is me situation. Something bigger at hand is going on. I just don't understand it. And also, what the fuck? I'm literally depending on this guy I'm in love. First off, I'm getting broken up with. I'm in love with this guy. He's breaking up with me. And for no reason, it was really just like, it was just vibes. He was paying for my rent, paying for my food. I had just moved to this new city, barely had any friends, didn't have a job. I had a cat with me. I had just sold my bed because him and I were sharing a bed in our apartment. My credit score was awful and a really bad point in my like 500s. It was really shit. I didn't have a savings. Like, I was in a really shitty situation. And I was like, okay. Um, I had just been learning about gene keys. I had just started learning about gene keys literally a couple, like right when I moved to Austin. And it reminded me of this part of my gene keys chart. And it's called your purpose sphere. It's at the very bottom if you're looking at your chart. And the reason that it brought me to the purpose sphere is because I knew this was the main challenge that we experience in relationships. And I just naturally felt drawn to this specific sphere with this situation. And I'm looking at everything. And I'm seeing my gene keys in it. Now, for reference, this particular gene key, my shadow, is inadequacy. And the gift that comes out of that is resourcefulness. And the city is wisdom. So it's this alchemy process. I alchemize inadequacy into wisdom by understanding what the energetics of resourcefulness really means. Okay, so again, I'm looking at that long laundry list of like, Summer, you're fucked. And I'm like, okay, I could see this situation as meaning that I'm inadequate, but I fucking have been down there so many times. Like, no way. No way, motherfuckers, you're not getting me again. I've let breakups, I've let the money, I've let everything deteriorate my sense of self and take me into the pits of inadequacy. I'm not doing it. What happens if I hold myself as a queen of resources? And that was my little thing. Boop. It was my click. That was my switch. I made a switch with my identity. And I started to get curious and just explore life of, and I'm not choosing the scarcity route. I'm going to see what happens in resourcefulness. Okay. 3 days later, I'm working another side gig. I'm working this event. I'm vibing. I'm honestly on the cloud. Like, I sometimes get a high from like when life gets chaotic and so out of my control. I'm like, like I know this is a portal. Like, let's fucking ball out. Let's go.
I get that so deeply.
Yeah. And I'm working this event, and this short Mexican guy, he comes up to me. He's like, "Who are you? And what's your name? What do you do?" And I'm like, I just introduced myself to him, and him and I get talking. He's like, I love your energy. I love your vibe. I didn't even realize you were working here. Like, you're just interacting with everybody. Like, you seem a part of the party, but then I see you like getting shit done over here. Like, you're cleaning all the stuff and doing all the dishes. It was an event thing. And he's like, I want you to meet my business partner. And I start telling him about my situation. I was like, I'm barely making it, working all these side gigs. I just want my money to come from one source. I'm ready to settle down. I'm going through a breakup. Like, I need independence and I need it to be stable. Because I want you to meet my business partner. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, here's my number. I'm going to text you. We exchange information. In the background, I'm also like looking for a house. Now, my ex-partner at the time was like, you don't have to move out right away. It wasn't like a chaotic breakup. Thank God. Thank God. It was like so calm and peaceful and healthy. He's like, take your time. You're fine. I'm not going to just kick you out. So, but I was still looking for a place to move. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I don't have a good credit score. I don't have proof of income. I don't, da, 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 da. Hurdle, 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 hurdle. How am I going to do this? Well, I go to drink some cacao and read a book at this place one day. And one of my like kind of newer acquaintances friends, she sits down and starts talking to me, and I'm like, first off, like, I'm in my shit. I'm in my shame shit, you know? I'm going through, I'm like, I don't know if I want this girl to talk to me right now. Like, I'm just like, but I let it in. I let the love in even when I feel like shit. And so she starts asking me how I am. I'm like, Kevin and I broke up. Oh, I just name dropped. Whatever. Like, Kevin and I broke up. Like, blah, blah, blah. I need a place to live, but like, these are all my concerns. And she's like, oh, just join this Telegram group. You know, now I understand this whole side of the world. It's like, just join this Telegram group. There's people looking for roommates all the time, and you like won't need that stuff. Like, you never know what can happen. So I'm in these Telegram groups and I end up meeting this woman. She has a beautiful house, like still to this day, the most beautiful house I've ever lived in. Doesn't need proof of income, doesn't want me on the lease. She's actually was sneaking me behind her landlord's back. Like, sorry, we all do it. Sneaking me behind her landlord's back because she wanted to move and she was like looking for roommates to help her pay, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay. And I'm seeing a couple different places, but I know like her place is the one that I want. That would feel like an upgrade to me. Like I'm going after what I want. Okay. Not what I'm like my old stories. So, and then that next week, I get a text from that guy that I met at the party. Hey, I'm actually hiring for an executive assistant. I would love to interview you. Bet. I was like, let's go. Meet me at my apartment complex. Meet you there. See you there. We go through this extensive interview process, but these guys are so energetic, but they work in the business space, and I'm just like I can do mental gymnastics all day, bro. Let's go. Like I'm great. I'm strong. I can handle this position. And at the very end, they're like, okay, write down on a piece of paper how much you want to make a month. And I had already known how much it was going to cost to get that place and to be able to afford my stuff and then some. Boop, wrote that shit down on a piece of paper. They're like, all right, you start next week. So, damn, I got broken up on a Monday. 2 Mondays later, I was moving out. I had a new job. I was getting into this beautiful house that had these red lights and it was fully furnished. So, like, the bed thing didn't matter. And, like, we figured out a deposit thing and she was okay with my cat. And I watched every hurdle, every restriction, every limitation that was in my way disappear. I have no background in being an executive assistant. I had never met this guy before. I didn't have a resume. Like everything that people think that they need in order to get somewhere in life, I just watched go bing, disappear. So I went from making 700 maybe max a month to 3,500 a month. And I was like, okay, there's something in this Gene Keys shit.
There's something in the Gene Keys shit, and there's also something to be said about like the like energy just speaks so much louder than words. And we really and this pairs beautifully with everything we're going to dive into in terms of business, because even there, it's especially there, like the mindset is so can be so strategic. Like it has to be strategy and logic and logistics and like, the tangible. And yet what is the unspoken force of life, and this is such a beautiful example of that, is the energetics, like what you're claiming, what you're choosing, the mindset, the embodiment of what you want to see more of. And I just love that. I'm like lit up by your story. That's incredible. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, how did this translate into you doing the work that you do now?
Yeah. So after a couple months of working this job as an executive assistant, I was like, this ain't my place. I'm not meant to work for people. I have issues with authority, but also like I have a high standard for authority and there's a lot of clashing and like I actually adore this man still. Like we're very close, my old boss and I.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not compatible. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to build my own thing on the side while I have the comfort of the security of this job. And like, I'm learning so much about leadership through this job, learning about mindset, learning about business, money, energetics, so many things through it. And I worked this job. It was like an 8 to 4 p.m. job. Never again, Monday through Friday. I had to leave my house, you know, be in somebody else's space, like just a disaster for me. And I would come home, I would eat dinner, and then I would sit there with my Gene Keys book and read. And read and read and read and read and read and read and read. And I just read forever. I had like just all I did, read and take notes and become so inspired by the wisdom that was in all of this entire book and this library. Learned about my chart, but also started to step outside of my chart and just learn other things. And then I remember I went home for Christmas that year and I was talking about it out loud with my mom. I'm like, yeah, eventually I'm going to need a beta client. And I was like, wait, mom, you should be my first beta client. My mom's so into this stuff. Like, there's a reason my name is Summer Phoenix. My parents are very hippie. So she was actually great to go through. She was just like, absolutely, like, so on board for it. And so when I went home for Christmas, she became my first beta client. And I just took her through this 3-month process just intuitively and was like, let's just try this out. And then I started to talk about it more on my Instagram. And about a month after I ended the container with my mom, I got my first one-on-one paying client. Paid me $2,000 to take him through this 3-month process. And so I started working with people one-on-one. And at that time, I just was teaching them their chart. Just going through the chart, letting them like reflect and like helping them integrate, learning, using some of the stuff I learned about subconscious mind rewiring. Sometimes I'd pull in astrology stuff, like just kind of using the tools and the knowledge I already had mixed in with Gene Keys. Well, eventually I started posting more about it, and this girl local to Austin was like, I want you to come do a Gene Keys series in person at my place. And so that was actually what inspired me to create my first like group program. And it was called Discover Your Genius. Cute. It's I'm pretty sure it's exactly what Richard Rudd calls it. Like, I didn't really step super far outside the box. And I just taught it for like in this 4-week thing. And again, I just was teaching people about their chart and like blah, blah. Well, then people online started, I had my people from Cali, my people from Michigan, this woman from Ireland. They're like, we want to learn it too. So then I brought it online. And I ran this 4-week course for 8 months. And I'm really painting out the details because everybody's business goes through evolution periods, and you gotta like, some people don't start because they're waiting for that perfect offer. Goodbye. Start with an offer, start putting it out there. It's all an experiment, and clarity comes through action. Okay. So I had ran that 4-week program for 8 months. Oh, you know how hard it is to launch every 4 weeks? Oh my God, it was chaotic. I was just pulling in little bits of money. At this point, I had actually gotten a new executive assistant job that offered me more time and space and freedom and a little less pay. And a lot of people kept coming to me and they're like, but how do I embody this? Like, how do I embody this? So then I took my 4-week offer into an 8-week offer. And I called it Awaken and Ground. Awaken the energy through learning, and then you ground it through somatics in the body. I realized that being in my body was something that comes really natural to me, and a lot of people were missing that connection. And so I offered them some somatic sessions to bring in a more fine-tuned, attuned connection to their own frequency through the vessel of the body. And plus, Gene Keys has to do with epigenetics too. So I was like, this shit's on brand. Like, let's go. Again, I was kind of experimenting. Turns out it works really well. Like, the things that people would come back and reflect to me, I'm like, wow, oh my God, this is amazing. Full send. So I ran that one maybe about 6 times. Again, an 8-week offer for $800. Like, it was just a little bit rough to build like something substantial for myself. Um, Hard to pay the bills with an $800 offer. Maybe now, because my audience is a little bit different, I might be able to swing it differently. But anyway, eventually I capped, and I had one of my lowest launches ever, and I happened to meet a coach. He slid into my DMs I don't answer every DM. I told him right away, I'm like, this, you sound cool. This sounds like a vibe, but I gotta tell you, I don't have the extra resources to invest. We all go in thinking that. Like everybody in their right mind, nobody's like, I'm gonna get a coach because I have extra money and I want to spend it on a coach. Rarely, okay? Rarely. But he was like, let's just get on a call anyway. And I followed the vibe. This is another pivotal story too. So I go to get on this discovery call with him, and I'm like sitting in front of my computer 20 minutes before the call. And I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have the money for this. Maybe I should just cancel. And I'm like contemplating, I might just cancel. I might just cancel. I'm like, okay, Summer, you have 10 minutes to make a decision. And so I start in this 10 minutes to like let go of the overthinking. I start editing this video of mine. And in this video, I'm telling people, I'm like, you can't get to the gift by avoiding the shadow. And I was like, oh, motherfucker. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to avoid feeling inadequate again. And then it makes me not want to show up. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to show up to this call feeling inadequate and everything. I'm going to embrace this part of me. I know this is a part of the healing. Got on the call, went through this whole process. I ended up hiring him, and through his support, he had the first thing he had me do was get this Excel sheet, write down all my clients I had ever worked with. And at that point, it was like over 100. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize I'd worked with that many people. I'd just been going. Write them all down, get their contact information, rate them at, well, 1, 2, or 3. 1, I really want to work with them. I like this type of person. Or 3, this isn't the vibe. And start to try to find some similarities. And that's when I realized, okay, 90% of these, well, 95% of these people are women. 90% of them, their testimonies, they're all applying it to their work. Oh, right, click. I'm doing business coaching through Gene Keys. I'm helping creatives and entrepreneurs heal their scarcity patterns so that they can get more clients, generate more income, make a career shift, finally take the first steps in their creative pursuit. Boop, full send, turned it up a couple notches, turned it into a 3-month program, turned it into a 6-month program, which is now called Queens of Resources, where I take the gene keys, the somatic work, and then I help women on how to apply this in a strategic way to their business.
What a full circle moment. Did you have the Queen of Resources? Like, because you said that earlier during the breakup, like that was there, and now it's the program.
And now it's a program. So what happened is
That's epic.
inside of this coaching container, this woman was getting such good results. This is how I'm showing you guys how my brain works because I think this shit leads to success. There's this woman who is just making so many sales. And so I texted her. I said, can we hop on a call? I see someone else having success. Like, girl, what's the vibe? What are you doing? What's up? Share some wisdom with me. Resourcefulness. And she's like, well, why don't you tell me your story? And so I told her the story that I showed you guys. And she was like, oh, that Queens of Resources, that really sticks out to me. And I was like, oh my God, that's meant to be my community name. Oh, it's just like, sometimes we're so not blind to we're sometimes blind to our own magic and genius. And like, it's been there this whole time. And so that's how it came back alive of like, I want to help women embody their inner queen of resources, just like I did for myself 3 years ago.
Yeah, we really are sometimes so blinded. Like we can't even see what's so obvious. And this has been and it's such a beautiful, like there's so many nuggets through your journey that I just want to kind of double click on. Part of what you said was, clarity comes through action, right? Which, I mean, a little bit about my path. We've had a call together. It was probably like a year ago at this point, but yeah, I mean, I understand this so deeply, right? Of just seeking clarity before actually throwing myself into the fire. And I know so many people can resonate with that. Before we get to that, because we're going to unpack that as well, I just want to kind of start at the beginning for women who know so deeply that they're here for something greater, that there's something that they're here to like share with the world, but they feel like they don't know. How does Gene Keys help you kind of make sense of that? Or what is your process to helping people kind of get more clarity on that?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly it. Thank you so much for asking that. If you are called by something and you feel the energetics behind it, but you're stuck on the how, I don't know what this looks like. I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't even really know what it is, but there's something bubbling up in me. I become inspired by these people, these quotes, these teachings. But why? When you begin to do inner work through the lens of Gene Keys, it's tapping you into first the energy. And that's where it all needs to begin, is your own energetic coding. When you're tapped into your energetic coding and you start like living your day-to-day life from your own gifts, things come alive. You feel pulled to go here. You feel intuitively called to start that conversation. You have the insights come in when you're on a walk or you're showering because you're prioritizing that the energy, then the rest comes. People try to do like, okay, let me figure this out and then I'll focus in on the energy. It's focusing in on the energy and then allowing life to reveal to you what's meant for your path. The gene keys show you your authentic codes, your authentic path. And when you begin to embody it and live it, the right people start to come in, the right players, the right resources, the right ideas, and things just come alive. Like, for example, I don't only work with entrepreneurs. Um, I just, vibes. I'm working with this woman who's a special eds teacher. And at first she was like, I think I'm just really here for the healing. Like, I see some stuff with like self-trust. I'm thinking some things in my life aren't aligned with me, but I'm lost. I'm lacking clarity. She starts to go through my process. First off, she ended up quit. I didn't even tell her to do this, by the way. I rarely tell people what to do. They just find their own way through the program. She quits her job. She finds a better job that's paying her more money, closer to where she lives, like is a much better fit. And going through the process, she's like, I've had an offer that lived inside of me this entire time that I knew, but I didn't know how to make sense of it until she went through like my messaging exercise. It was like, is energy work, right? And then it's like, how do I communicate this in a tangible way? And then they see, oh, here's my offer. And I go, okay, yeah, here's how to sell the offer. Okay, yeah, here's how to like attract, align people for that offer. Okay, here's how to handle your own shit that comes up in pursuit of actualizing this.
Mm.
And it looks different for everybody because that's the thing. It's your unique path, your unique journey. It's not. I have no idea what's going to happen if you go through my program. That's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though, because it really is like we can approach business from like the perspective of like what do people need and what's going to sell, right? That's like one type of business. But then the one that's like actually like soul aligned service, heart led business that's going to come through you. It's like you are the channel. So, like, getting the energetics right, opening yourself up, learning how to trust your intuition, and then kind of following the nudges is what's going to bring that to life. And then, the journey begins. And that's quite literally just the beginning of it. However, from there, it's hilarious because you know how they say that entrepreneurship and relationships are like the two fastest tracks to self-development that you like didn't know you needed or something like that. That has been the most true thing of my life, and it's like I threw myself into the fire of both of them. It's like, okay, let's fucking go. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
have it any other way. But with that said, the cool thing about the gene keys is that not only, I mean, there's so many things that they can help you with, but I feel like two of the big ones is helping you kind of discover that soul purpose, and then also the shadow work, right? So talk to us a little bit about how gene keys can help us with then navigating the obstacles that we will without a doubt confront on that path towards realizing or like creating that which we know is for us.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the biggest clarifying pieces for me was understanding what shadow work really is. I think there's different approaches to it. It's something I was always drawn to, but I didn't quite tangibly understand until Gene Keys came into my life. And I realized, at least through the lens of Gene Keys, shadow work is the healing of lower vibrations. Well, lower vibrations don't mean like you suck. Lower vibrations are just parts of you that are stuck in scarcity. Everybody can relate to this. Like, holy cow. Okay. So, understanding that when we feel challenged by life, when we hit these growth edges, when we hit the frustration of like, why isn't anything changing? Know that that's just you being met with a scarcity edge. And it's an opportunity, and it's a beautiful opportunity when we learn how to meet it with grace and we learn how to lean in towards it, that it's actually coming up for our benefit. And we get the honor to meet the tough bits, the grit, the fear, the frustration, and heal it. We get to be the ones to alchemize that into the gift again and again and again. So I think the approach to it is so much of it. I think everything in life is a relationship. So even when we're doing our inner parts work, it's okay, how am I even relating to this part of me that comes out in challenges? Because if I'm fighting it, judging it, shaming it, mad at it, like, man, it makes the path so much harder. Yeah. So, in a practical sense, okay, a little Gene Keys tip: if you're looking at your chart, the two main spheres that are going to come up during challenges are your life's work. Okay, so at the very top, and also your evolution sphere, which is all the way to the right. They're both green. Those shadows are pretty much the first ones to come up when you're hitting that growth edge. And so when you feel challenged, it's okay, how can I see myself in those shadows? What parts of me are operating, the beliefs, the habits, the identity are operating in that shadow? Okay, let me tend to those. Let me tend to the energy within me first, because then all of a sudden I become a lot more energetically resourced when I'm in my gifts to evolve through these challenges and actually experience not just breakdowns, but breakthroughs.
The thing I love is just how helpful it is to actually understand how the shadows, how the fears and the scarcity shows up for us individually. I feel like that removes hours of digging or can, and then to like understand how to work with yourself. And I love that you said everything is relationship, because I couldn't agree more. It's ironically like coming in from a place of love to, and like meeting yourself and the parts of you that you have deemed wrong, bad, shameful, all of it, to start to actually relate to them through an energy of love is usually what softens them. And then we get to work with these parts and they don't have to control our lives so much. So that is all really beautiful. And I now want to dive into a little bit deeper, more of like the common themes that show up for women, because I know there's probably some common threads here when we start going on this path. And I feel like there's so many women that I talk to too that desire more creativity, more expression, more abundance, all of it, right? That's why we go on this path to begin with and to share. But then they freeze at the edge of visibility. And you posted something. I was like scrolling through your posts and I just randomly clicked on one as I was doing my research for this interview. And it was something you basically called us out in the way that is just so spot on. And I'm just going to read a few of these because I want us to dive into like what is at the root of these patterns, right? And I'm sure there's a lot, but I also recognize that there's probably patterns. So some of it is she edits on Instagram captions so much it loses its soul and then never even posts it. She keeps saying, I need to be clear on my niche. She journals and vision boards but never sends the email. She talks in abstract concepts because saying what she really wants would make her visible. Oof. She scrolls for inspiration and ends up comparing herself into a puddle. Last one. She gets super busy with everything when it's time to create and when shit needs to get, or when shit gets fucking real. And I'm like, girl, mic drop. Yes. But like, we've all experienced this, right? Everyone who is on this path has experienced some version of this. And so let's just name it. Let's say it as it is, because I think that dancing around it is what stops us from actually getting to where we want to be. And so, what have you seen are some of the common patterns and what's actually at the bottom of all of that? Is it a lack of self trust? Is it a fear of being seen? Is it like, what is it?
Dude, like we could pick apart every single one of those. I'm a detail slut. Like, let's go. I could really get into all of that. And here I am. I'm going to be vague and like let me eat my shit, but it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fear. And then it comes up as, yeah, I don't trust myself, a lack of confidence. I don't think I'm worthy. Oh my gosh, the like deserving piece is like if you have a poor sense of self, meaning like you really look down on yourself, you don't you're not seeing the beauty of your voice, of your expression, of your gifts, of your impact. And so you don't post, you compare yourself to other people, you dull it down, you sabotage. You find a way to sabotage because there's a piece of your wiring, your core wiring, and your identity that doesn't think that you deserve it. You're a piece of shit. You aren't worthy of it. It's not realistic. That's another one that comes up. It's not realistic. Um, yeah,
Fear.
fear.
Yeah. No, it's true. What do we do with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how do you this is like, and this is right, it's like, oh, if only it was so easy to just like, here's the solution. Like, this is the journey of being human, is like, okay, you get to like little by little chip away at that and prove, I guess, through action. But like, tell us more, because I know you've dug deep into all of this. And so what do you have to say about that process of moving past that?
Yeah. It is like a kaleidoscope journey. And so that's something to understand, is that no two paths look the same. It's not linear. And you're going to have to meet the fears in a lot of different shapes, sizes, and colors and flavors. And understanding how sneaky sometimes these frequencies of fear can really be. Because they'll show up as logic, they'll show up as integrity, they'll show up as spiritual bypassing. They dress
Safety.
themselves up. Exactly. Oh my gosh. And I know it. I call myself a comfort slut all the time. Like, I'm pillow princess. Like, come on. Like, I'm passive, feminine, comfy, Cancer, Taurus energy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but what I've learned is, because it shows up in so many different suits and so many different stories, is that we have to dive into the attunement to the frequency in order to truly understand it. Because then we can become so attuned to the core of it that no matter what shape or size or story it shows up in, you go, oh, I recognize you. I smell this. I've been here before. I see what you're doing. I see you story of integrity and wanting to do this really well and dressing yourself up, and you're just constricting me and procrastinating me even further. You know, attuning yourself to the energy and back to that relationship piece. Let me meet it with grace and love. You're my baby. I always use the baby analogy. I'm like, this fear is my baby, and I'm here to nurture it, and I get to tend to it and take care of it and be the adult to the fear.
Yeah, it's like fine tuning your own bullshit detector.
Yeah.
But really, because you can just save so much time and struggle when you're just like, oh, here's another way that the same fear is being masked in another way. And then you can actually work with what's at the root. And I'm curious to hear what does it practically look like to, I forget exactly how you worded it, but essentially to become aware of the energetics behind that. Like what does that actually look like?
Yeah. Again, another personal journey. I tend to see at least everyone has their own, like, you kind of have your own communication with yourself, and that language gets built and the understanding becomes the bridge. I love to use the somatic processes that I take people through because it gets you into your body with it. And I think that's a great anchor point of like noticing, oh, I already know that when this headache manifests or when these beliefs come up or when my shoulders start to curl in, I know that I learned that that's attached to my shadow of struggle. Okay, so now I remember I learned also what's connected to my gift of perseverance. And so I know how to hold myself and how to carry myself and how to be in my body to help usher in that frequency. It's also a daily practice. Like, this didn't just happen once and I'm like, all done. I'll never feel inadequate again. Like, fine. That little Susie inadequacy shows up all the time, all the time. And so it's being in it for the long game. Like, not looking for the quick fixes. This isn't some modality that comes and saves you from your own shit. It teaches you how to tend to the shit, put it into soil, and grow flowers from it.
I love that. Yeah. And that's the journey long term. Like that is the inner work, whether it is because you're wanting to use it to create the business of your dreams, whether you want to create whatever it is, like that is the long term game of self development, growth, all of it. And but it's so fucking worth it. Like it's the only thing that will actually liberate you from your own fears and conditioning and that which holds you back from everything you desire. And so it's so beautiful to watch it be applied to business because I swear, I'm like, if I would have just seen it from this perspective from the beginning, I feel like I would have saved myself so much fucking struggle. But for whatever reason, we had to learn the hard way. Okay.
Something
So,
to look at for sure with you.
yeah, tell me about it. Oh, man. Okay. Um, so, self trust is something that I want to talk about because I think it goes hand in hand with the fears, right? We look at the fears, we recognize where am I still so afraid to be seen, so afraid to speak my truth, so afraid to do the thing. And self trust is something that is also like you build it over time, it's a daily practice. But I'm curious to hear like how you view self trust and the path towards building self trust. Like, what does that look like in your eyes and from your experience?
Yeah, I love that. Um, so I actually was at it was like this women's relationship workshop one day with a woman named Annie Lala, like giving her total credit for this nugget. But a woman in the crowd asked, like, how do I learn how to trust men? And she goes, it's not about trusting the other person, it's trusting yourself enough to be resourced to handle anything that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
That clicked so many things in for me where I realized, oh, self trust doesn't come from certainty and security in a certain outcome. Self trust comes from me feeling like the capacity that I have to handle both the challenges and handle the gifts and the outcomes with grace and with love and respect and honor. And I trust myself to pivot when necessary. I trust myself to reach out to that person when I feel called. I trust myself to speak my truth, even if I'm fucking so deathly afraid that I'm going to hurt that person's feelings. Like, I, I, I trust myself to fuck up. And just being in full acceptance, and it's trust to me is very fluid. So if we find ourselves very rigid or cold or constricted or like, ugh, you don't have like a lot of softness and fluidity and flow in your life, this comes back to trust, because trust is going to allow you the fluidity to meet the inner changes and the outer changes as necessary. Um, my path of self trust actually started way before Gene Keys, and I actually did a plant medicine ceremony. And I woke up the next day, began to integrate, and realized I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself. So I made a promise to myself at that point. I had hair up to my chin. It was half shaved and it was green, like a green blue. And I told myself, I knew that trust was built through keeping promises to yourself. Like that I had learned somewhere in some self-help book along the way. And so I said, okay, this is how you're going to build trust with yourself, Summer. You're going to let your hair grow out and you're not going to touch it. So, actually, how long and natural my hair is today is a physical representation of the self trust that I decided to build with myself. And this was kind of more of like a macro way. This was like a long term thing. I also knew I had commitment issues. I needed to stay committed, and I needed to learn how to trust myself that I can stay committed to something. And it oh my gosh, it came with so many pieces of self-love as well. Like, I'm in it for the long game. Like, I'm in it to be patient with myself. Like, I'm keeping this promise to myself for no other reason than just to keep a promise and build self-trust. And I also practice this in micro ways. So when it comes to business, I reach out to 5 people a day, Monday through Friday, not on the weekends. And when I complete that task, I feel that dopamine hit that comes with, sticking to a task and completing it. And in that, I'm learning how to trust myself. Like, oh yeah, I'm learning how to trust myself, not only in an energetic, devotional, self love way, but trusting myself to execute and take the action that's also necessary. Because as much as I love this energy work, one of the first things I put all my clients through is looking at their inner queen and their inner king. How can we harmonize that leadership? So it's good to find the pockets where you are not keeping promises, where you are pushing things off, like the things that you say you're going to do and you're not doing. It's good to find those pockets of how they show up and just to take micro action to then build that self-trust.
Yeah, I love that because it's like we wouldn't be in a relationship with someone and we wouldn't have trust in a relationship with someone else who was consistently like falling short on their word, like not keeping promises. And yet we're the first people to do that to ourselves. And it happens constantly. And so it really is, I think we overcomplicate some of these things, and yet it, it it's simple but not easy. It still requires you to show up when you don't want to and like prioritize that. And I think it just speaks to the fact that really clarity comes over time and through action, and so does confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Which, just like self-trust, I think is just a matter of continuously showing up and like almost proving to the parts of you that think you're not capable that you actually are. What would you add to confidence to that journey?
Yeah, confidence or self-trust or both, all of it.
Yeah. Confidence.
Confidence is interesting. Confidence, my thing is like everyone has to look at their own relationship to the energy that lives in every word. And so, confidence for a long time, if I tried to prioritize that, I found myself pushing through. And I would kind of got my solar plexus and like my willpower. But when I focus on this sense of like inner security, that to me is now what I consider confidence. It's having my own back, having that inner security to know that even if when I meet the parts of me that I don't love, that it's not deteriorating at my confidence, or even if I don't hit my goals, it's not deteriorating at my confidence anymore because my confidence is rooted in like secure attachment with myself.
This is a beautiful pivot into kind of the last little piece that I want to talk about here before we wrap up. And it has to do with, I know right now you're in like what you're calling your soft girl era, right? And I love that. I love it because there's so much there. Like, yes, it's beautiful for Instagram and everything. However, there's actually so much to that, especially in this entrepreneur space where it's this like hustle and grind, and we attach confidence and self trust to constantly showing up, constantly like getting more clients or whatever that attachment is for you. And I think a lot of women burn themselves out and are just chasing. Like it's still coming from this place of like, gotta prove myself, gotta chase, gotta do. You know, it's a forceful approach that isn't sustainable. And also, I think most women want that. They want to be able to just chill and like sleep in and do it their way. And so, tell us a little bit more about the season of your life and what it's taught you that you can help to inspire in others.
Yeah, love. So there's a couple pieces here. One of them is connected to my south and my north node in astrology. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, it's a part of your astrology chart that shows you what you've mastered in a past life that you're here to like trust that you're embodied in and kind of let go of, and also what your soul is challenged to move into. And so my south node is Aries in the 12th house. So that's like spiritual warrior, independence. I can do it. Let me lead the pack. Let me take action. Bop, bop, bop. And that's so me. And then there's the Libra that's more contemplative, introspective, it's softer. It's in the 6th house. It's a lot more tangible. It's moving with grace and ease. And that's actually very uncomfortable for me. Yeah, I'm so much more comfortable being independent, the leader, like really independence and freedom is such a huge thing for me. And that sparked some of this like, I'm meant to soften in this lifetime. Fuck, so uncomfortable. It seems so useless. It seems so, cute in the stories. But it's been in my orbit for a while. But this particular season of my life, it came back up because last month I got a really bad tooth infection. Like there were physical reasons that led to this tooth infection. I let a cavity go too long. I needed a crown, got a crown. Crown went awful. It got infected, turned into a root canal. Rock on. So it hurt so bad. But like anything that happens to me in life, I go and look at the spiritual connection to it. And I know that our teeth connect to certain organs, and that can point to certain emotions and energetic patterns that might be at play that would create something like that to manifest in the physical to begin with. The nature of who I am. And that tooth number 30, had a lot to do with willpower and pushing through and this fear of being useless. And I need to prove, and I need to push, and I need to force. I was like, it's such a challenge for me to not succeed through pushing. It's such a challenge for me to meet a deeper essence of my power that's not pushing through. It's such a challenge for me to trust that. And it came up even during that healing process because I couldn't even look at a computer screen. I couldn't focus for more than 30 minutes without being shot with these waves of pain. And I was scared. I felt so useless. How can anybody love me and respect me? How can I love and respect myself if I'm not able to produce and work? And it crushed my entire identity. And like I'm so grateful for it. And I'm still integrating the pieces. Like I just came out and kind of talked about it yesterday on my stories, although I've been letting it show in my business. So it's a bit of a personal journey, and the soft girl era is so much more than just the aesthetics, which I also love, and like the beauty and even just this idea of it. It's for me, it became very personal, the way that I love myself and my ability to hold softness and grace towards myself, because I can be very harsh, very self-critical. I'm also really intelligent. That's what happens with people who are really smart. We become very critical against ourselves because we're in the details. We know how to pick all of it apart. That's my gift. But when does it become a weapon pointed against myself instead of a tool that I can use? So that's kind of, it's for those women. That's the deeper essence of it, and also like letting ourselves remember what really matters in life, because it's not the bank account, it's not the amount of like clients that we can get or followers that we can get. It's our ability to savor and be present and receive life. Like I just want to receive life. That's what all this, the hard work and the pushing is for, is the slower moments, the being able to move through life with grace and unhurried and pleasure, receiving. Like that's remembering that that's what it's all for, and letting that be the starting point instead of the pot at the end of the rainbow.
So beautifully said. It's like, how can we expect ourselves to even be able to receive once we get to this perceived future if we can't do it now?
Yeah.
Right. And like the illusion that, oh, it's just when I have this amount of money or when I accomplish this, then I'll be able to receive it all and enjoy it all. And it's like, no, that's such an illusion. It's such a practice. And it just says so much about you that you go through something that to most people would be such a, oh, just, it's just a tooth infection. Like it happens, whatever, figure it out. But like to actually look beneath the surface and realize that nothing is by accident. That's how I view life. And it's something I would have done for sure. But like how beautiful to then, because then life doesn't have to, like, tragedy doesn't have to happen to wake you up. Like something, I mean, not to say this was an easy experience for you, but you know what I mean? Like usually it builds because people aren't looking beneath the surface at what's already been there and intuitively been trying to get your attention. And I feel like life's always doing that if we're willing to pay attention. And if we can learn the lesson ahead of time, not only do we spare ourselves a lot of suffering, but we also get to experience the magic of like the lesson, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And yeah, it's the introspection to like ask what is really within this desire. So part of my like CEO mind, my driver, my desire for success was this idea I had of luxury. Oh, I just really like luxury items. I want to live a luxury life. I want to hold this essence of luxury. And one day I asked myself, okay, what is it? What is it that's inside of that luxurious lifestyle and this luxury that I crave? Who am I? How do I move? What's the energy? And what I realized is that what I was seeking for was moving through life unhurried. Like that's what I thought luxury brought me, was the permission slip to not be hurried through life anymore. Back to the not pushing, back to the soft girl life. Like it all comes together. And so instead of waiting for this, like the physical luxury, with the Stanley water bottle, it's not the physical luxury, it's allowing myself to move through life unhurried. Yeah.
And that is the key to also, I mean, to everything you actually desire, it's recognizing that it's the feeling you're after, that you think that those things are going to bring you. And the key is learning how to match that frequency now and realize that you can feel it now. Then you don't even need the thing, but then you're also a magnet to the thing because now you're vibrating at the same frequency. So beautiful. Like, thank you for so many things. Thank you for doing this work and sharing it with others. Thank you for sharing your personal stories because they're such a beautiful example of this of these concepts actually applied and what it can look like. And thank you for coming on here and sharing it all with us. I resonate so deeply with everything that you said, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the space and time as well. And like, may women just become more and more inspired to really come home to themselves and
Mm.
understanding the multifacetedness of that. Like, the work, Lily, that you do is so rich, it's so deep, it's so intelligent. Like, I could just soak in all of your stories and posts because there's so much wisdom within it. So anybody that's here in this community, you're very lucky to be here, and this is a good place.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. And yeah, I'm just grateful for more women who get it and who are here to help each other rise. And so tell people how they can work with you. I'm sure there's going to be a lot who are interested in this very unique approach to life and business. And yeah, what do you have going on?
Yeah, I think the best way is just to connect with me on Instagram. It's my main channel. I really love to just start with a conversation, like introduce yourself. Hey, I met you from Lily's podcast, blah, blah, blah. Ask me a question or just tell me a little bit about your vision. And I'd just like to get to know people individually. And the core offer that I have is that Queens of Resources. And that is a 6 month sanctuary. It's a 6 month process that you get to go through. And I walk you through the entire thing. Um, and see what comes alive in that. And if the 6 month journey isn't a right now thing, I'm always doing the events, Lily, which I think is how we originally got connected. I do events, free events, probably about 3 to 4 times a year virtually. So it's another great way to get plugged into my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. And I will include your Instagram handle below so people can access that and send you a DM and just get connected and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
There's so much there. And so thank you for sharing all your wisdom and your resources. I love the full circle of the Queens of Resources. That's epic. And yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.